Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. So today, I wanted to have a discussion on the recent issue with veteran hunters in RWBY, because as of recent, there have been some issues that have been ongoing concerning veteran hunters, and I really wanted to go over what this issue exactly is, and how hopefully it can be improved. So sit back, relax, I hope you all enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. Veteran hunters are characters who went through the academies and they over time learned to improve their skills and to become who they have today. With their experiences, what they were taught, and what they've learned over time, they obviously are the ones to teach the new pupils, the new upcoming huntsmen and huntresses in training to become just like them in power one day. And one big problem, though, with this is that it seems like the veteran huntsmen and huntresses aren't as good as the trainees like Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Take a note, they still haven't gone through all their training. They are not as experienced or as knowledgeable as characters such as Crow or Winter because they have graduated from the academies and they have learned all that they could throughout those years. Not only that, but even afterward, they've trained to even hone and sharpen their skills. And by their many experiences outside of the academies, they've learned to adapt to situations that the academies could only prepare the students for. As to where the world of Remnant itself, outside of the academies, is not as safe as it would be for the students, like in the academies. And these veteran huntsmen and huntresses, they have had to learn to adapt to situations as to where the students themselves, while in the academies, are being taught to prepare for these situations, but not really going through them as much. And looking forward, though, the problems with Volumes 5 and 6 with Veteran Huntsmen is that they've been nerfed so far that it seems like, for example, they just are on par with characters like Team RWBY and Team Juniper, who are still within training. They are still not graduated students. They are students that were still within the academy, only first-year students, mind you. There was still a lot for them to learn going forward. And I want to take a look at some examples over time of veteran hunters and how well that they were in comparison to the students. Let's take a look at Volume 1. Look at Glinda Goodwitch. For example, when RWBY was chasing after Roman Torchwick, whenever Roman was starting to escape, then you see Cinder throw the dust, and the dust was going to explode on RWBY, severely injuring and possibly even killing her. Glinda was the one who came in and saved RWBY from the explosion. Thus, looking forward after that moment, Glinda uses her weapon, Riding Crop, and what she does is she creates out of dust a storm cloud that shoots out hail. Not only that, but she also uses her own semblance of telekinesis to grab shards and attack the ship that Roman and Cinder were in. And it shows you her level of experience. Not only that, but she also uses dust to make a protective barrier to save RWBY from the explosion, showing her experience within combat there, and how different it was between herself and RWBY. And let's take a look at Oobleck for a moment. So, when looking at Oobleck, Oobleck was strong with his own fighting capabilities. I mean, look at when Oobleck used Y the Superdog to smash through Elysian Paladin 290s as if they were nothing more than bowling pins. I mean, when you think about Team RWBY just taking on one, and that was just 4 members versus 1 Elysian Paladin 290. We're talking about multiple Elysian Paladin 290s. And Oobleck just smashed right through them as if they were no big deal, showing Oobleck had more power than Team RWBY did at their level. It shows that he was on a different skill level entirely. Not only this, but his greatest power comes from his mind. Through assessing the situation and observing everything that goes on around him, Oobleck studies the environment and then knows what to do from there. He's cautious. He doesn't just jump to a situation and think, oh, let's go ahead and just fight right off the bat. And this shows how much difference in skill that the veteran huntsman had in comparison to Year 1 students, for example, like Team RWBY. And while we see great power from them in the beginning, it seems that over time, the veteran hunters really just fall in comparison to where they once were, which really hurts their credibility as characters. It really just puts these characters down, doesn't show as much respect for them. Now, Dee and Dudley, yes, they were based off Tweedledee and Tweedledum, in which, if you know them, they were not the brightest of characters. showing Dee and Dudley also, yet again, taking on the traits of the fairy tale characters they were based off of, were certainly not the brightest of characters, and which led to Dee's death and Dudley breaking his own arm. And that really showed that while they were students that had graduated from an academy, they weren't very bright and they weren't very good at their jobs. But when you look at a character such as Crow, who has proven to do some great things, proven to be on a higher level than characters like Team RWBY and Team Juniper, and then suddenly later on to just start jobbing his own fights, to not really show off as much of his own skill as he used to, well, it then becomes a problem, because Crow has done some pretty great things. I mean, let's take a look back at Volume 3 when he was formally introduced. He took on Winter, to which I must say, I think that this was a very good fight back in Volume 3. One thing I like is that this was the very first time we actually got to see two veteran hunters fight against one another. Two characters that were very skilled, and they really showed off their skills and their abilities. Not only that, but they didn't just have to jump to relying upon their semblance right off the bat, which was also another good thing. Now, Misfortune, on the other hand, as Crow's semblance was not planned during Volume 3, but it's implied that it may have actually activated because of Ironwood approaching during the fight, getting Winter into trouble. Then the next fight was between Crow and Tyrion in Volume 4, and that was also yet again an excellent fight. We were seeing the power gap between Tyrion himself and Team Ranger, how he was taking them on pretty well by himself, and it seemed like it was just easy to him. Crow shows up, and then he's got someone on his level to contend with, which I think was very excellent to show off. But then, after that, Volume 5 and onward, Crow starts to have issues with fighting. He starts jobbing his fights, and it just becomes a problem, because it seems like Crow at that point has degraded down to the level of huntsman in training. And Team RWBY, they are still in training. They are not to the level of a graduated veteran huntsman or huntress yet. They are not there. And then Crow just starts jobbing his fights. But Crow is not the only character to succumb to this. The other character is Adam Taurus. Adam was yet another character who was on the level of a graduated hunter. He was a character who was being built up to have power, who was being built up to be a strong antagonist, one with skill, one with a very overpowered semblance in Moonslice, because Moonslice is a semblance that any damage that Adam were to absorb, it becomes stronger because it all gets focused into one, and then he sends it back at his opponent. That is such an overpowered ability. It's excellent. And seeing that he was able to take on the attacks from Blake, and then he just uses it to chop Yang's arm off, was fantastic, showing the power that Adam actually had. And it was showing that he was not going to be someone that would be easy to take down by any means, that he was certainly a stronger character. Volume 5 then did Adam no favors, with Blake one-shotting him, completely nerfing him to the ground in comparison to where he was in Volume 3, but at least Volume 6 did boost him in power, but it didn't boost him back to the strength of Volume 3. While his semblance was very interesting to see him shoot out generated attacks whenever he would absorb the energy, it was very strange to see that he wasn't using Moonslice in the way that he had in the past with the Black trailer as well as in Volume 3. But Moonslice was not at the power that it was back in the previous volumes. And that kind of became a problem there, because it made you think, well, why isn't he using Moonslice in the way that he used to? And yes, while it's true that Blake and Yang individually by themselves would not have been able to take on Adam, they did have that correct, but I still feel that Adam was supposed to be on a higher level than he actually was. And given the training that Yang may have had, while it may have been a brief bit of training, that's the only training that we know that she had was after she got her replacement arm, after she had lost her arm in Volume 3. And while Taiyang did teach her a little bit, that's not enough training to really put her over the edge to beat Adam. He was still very obviously on a higher level than both Blake and Yang. And I think that they had to nerf him to really put it more on the level so that Yang and Blake could beat him in the end. And when you think about it, these characters, like I stated, they're still in training. They are not to the level of Crow, of Winter, of Raven, of any of these previous characters we've seen that are veteran hunters. They're just not to that level yet. And with training, over time, these characters can get there. I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying that they're not strong already. but they are just not at that level yet, and there will need to eventually be some sort of training, I think. But the thing is, hopefully in the future, we will see characters that are veteran huntsmen and huntresses that will be on the level that they're actually supposed to be. Hopefully they won't job their fights. Hopefully characters like Crow will be at the level they're supposed to be again. Hopefully Winter herself will have wonderful treatment and be at the level that we knew she was, and maybe even stronger than she was before. Now that's always a possibility, but let's hope that Winter in Volume 7 does not get the treatment that Crow has gotten and jobs her fights or is nerfed down to the level of characters like Team RWBY or Team Juniper, because we do know that Winter herself, much to like Crow, Glinda, Oobleck, Raven, all these characters that we know that are veteran huntsmen and huntresses, we know that she is on their level, or at least closer to that level rather than that of trainees. Hopefully from this point forward, veteran huntsmen and huntresses will be stronger than we've seen them be recently. But anyways, let me know what you think down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, hit the video with a like, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, share this with your friends if you found this informative or useful, and follow me on Discord. Link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today, and remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you, and have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.